Hi, you're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra and welcome to this special show on NewsX in association with Businessworld. Well, we've been having this special series and this special program on the stimulus package. What people have made of the stimulus package, what were some of the pitfalls related to that 20 lakh crore which was announced just a few days ago by Nirmala Sitharaman, and what is the economy going through right now. We get major talking heads from across industries and from various fields of the economy and the business world, and try and get you insights, subjective insights, sometimes objective insights as well, as to where the economy stands and what can be done to rejuvenate it, what can be done to galvanize it, and what can be done to in fact make sure that India continues on the path of growth. And on that note, we start another one of these shows, and let me start by welcoming our elite panelist for today. Mr. Mithun Sundar, CEO of Lending Card Finance Limited, joins us on the program. Mr. Avijit Arya, founder of Internet Moguls, also part of this esteemed panel. Mr. Atul Todi, CEO of 10 Times and Flow. Mr. Dipanshu Manchanda is also on the program. He's the founder and CEO of Zapfresh. Mr. Viraj Kalra, leadership coach, open brackets learning. And Mr. Kuldeep Chaudhary, CEO, Adome AdTech Private Limited. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Anurag Batra, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of Businessworld and Exchange for Media Group. He's also going to be partnering me in this conversation. Mithun, let me start by asking you a very simple question. First of all, give points to the stimulus package which was announced by Nirmala Sitharaman a few days back, and also tell us what is wrong with the economy today and what can we do to fix it.
I think the business that we do focuses a lot on the small and medium enterprises in the country, and they are our true customers. I think in this country we've got about 70 million MSMEs in the country, of whom about 10 million of them have access to formal sort of credit from the banking system. There are 60 million, even pre-COVID, who are struggling to get access to formal credit from a working capital perspective. And they are really the lifeblood of what makes this country run. And these are your traders at every second street corner, right? These are people who are your tailor shops, your cycle repair shop, a person who does, an internet center, somebody, all of these. And if getting them and their businesses back on track will be a huge sort of positive flow into the economy. Part of what's gotten announced during this has been, there has been a couple of schemes that the government has given in order to get money into their hands and to help them transition through. We've got a 6-month moratorium on all credit in this country now, which is an unprecedented, never ever occurred event before in the world. There's been no other country which has done 6 months of a moratorium ever before. So what does that do? It allows people at least a window of opportunity. These MSMEs a window of opportunity where they are able to sort of put aside credit worries. Number two, the government stimulus package tries to put money in their hand. However, there's a lot of friction between where we start and where we end. And so companies like mine and NBFCs and, smaller banks and banks which work with these traditionally underbanked parts of the economy will need to play a key role in finding a way to transition this money into the pockets of those entrepreneurs. And they're typically entrepreneurs. They're proprietors. Sometimes they're a partnership, but they're typically entrepreneurs. For me, I think this will be the single largest piece of, intervention that can start to make a difference for our economy. Now, when I say start to make a difference, I'm choosing my words carefully because a 6-month moratorium means you need to come back to normal, at least when September happens. After that, your credit habits, how you sort of react to questions that you have, how do you sort of start paying back, and how does the formal economy continue to rotate, with the right sort of, flywheel mechanism is yet to be seen. As I said, never before done. But this is what I see coming at us in recent.
So Mithun, is the stimulus package something that works for an SME owner and for an entrepreneur?
It can work, Anurag. At least the intent is right? The intent of the program is right. And when I say SME owner, it is typically an entrepreneur, right? It's someone who's just set up a business and he's got a turnover of anywhere between 1 lakh to 50 lakh, and it can be very small to, medium size. And these are people who today are struggling to pay their salaries, sometimes have, expenses that are in their raw materials or supply chain that they need to pay back. If it reaches them, timely, with the right levels of interest, with the right level of backstopping by the government, it can give us the 3-month window for them to get their businesses back on track. Now, there's one other side to it. There's just the supply side. Will demand pick up? I'm hopeful, but I can't predict it, because we need demand to pick up from the consumer side as well for these MSMEs, for their business to actually work. This I'm very hopeful about. I don't have a sharp insight on whether this will definitely be or not. I hope it will.
The question, Mithun, the reason I asked you, and I'll ask it to all the panel, is that there is a worry that a lot of startups whose revenues have gone down and they're also not get funding may not see the September, October also. So that's the worry, and that's why I'm asking.
No, your worry is right. See, I think I'll separate two things. Medium and small enterprises in this country, I'm not calling them startups, right? These are small shops in our roadside. Now, there are startups with a different problem altogether, right? I am a startup. I may be 4.5 years old. Leningard is about 6 years old. But I still consider myself a startup. We've got significant assets under management at this point. But we're still, in a sense, starting and growing. We grow 70% year on year. And for startups like mine and for companies which want to, and these are companies and not the MSMEs, for us, the funding question is real. We recently raised a round of funding with the investors backing in, but in the absence of, investors who are willing to sort of really back you for the track record you've had during, pre-COVID times, you will struggle to, get past 6 months. I'll give you a number. NBFCs in the country, there used to be 10,000 NBFCs, I think, when pre-COVID March, there is a list that gets circulated, 10,000. And informal estimates suggest that at this point, that number has already gone down to 8,000. So we have already seen the demise of 2,000 NBFCs. These are not MSMEs. These are large NBFCs which are in the financial sector. Not all of them are fintech. Lots of them are sort of old school financial services companies. I suspect by the time you get to September, this number is going to go down even further from 10,000 to 5,000, right? 8,000 to 5,000. But hopefully the ones who are remaining can continue to service the economy as they need to.
Okay, Avijit. All right, Avijit, let's get opening reaction from Avijit as well. Avijit, if you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Right, Avijit, tell us about your reaction to the economic stimulus.
This is very insightful from it, and
Go ahead.
Yeah, so quick reaction from my side was that I staying hopeful that it actually reaches everybody on all quarters to be able to see the actual difference. But right now, where I see it, and again speaking with a positive mindset, I feel every man for himself, and you re-engineer your own business, you re-engineer your own finances, and whatever comes in later as help is yet to be seen. Or that's my short 2-second opening.
And Avijit, again, you have a digital agency which works primarily in the hospitality domain, in the travel, tourism. That has been totally decimated. It's, last 90 days, 78 days, very little work has happened. So what happens to businesses like yours?
Right. So what was seen coming came at, what was seen coming as businesses already were struggling, especially in the hospitality sector. Businesses have been struggling for a very long time, and they were looking at agencies or service providers who would be able to charge money on performance. And that one day changed everything, and I think now everybody's going to be a performance agency. And so you're absolutely right. Almost 50+% of the business is on pause right now, and most of the business that we see coming back will be on performance, which means it's going to be the survival of the best, survival of somebody who learns the fastest. You learn your Facebook ads, you learn your Google ads. Anybody who's able to deliver room night to a customer will be the agency of choice, and not somebody who's got a 2-year-old retainer in a.
What I like in what you made as your opening remarks was that each individual, each entrepreneur has to be creative and resilient to be able to survive. If we just do our business, each one of us is able to survive, I think the country will do better. With this, I want to come to Mr. Manchanda. Mr. Manchanda, Zapfresh, before COVID, after COVID, plus how do you see the economic package and where do you see the economy going in the 60-90 days from now?
Hi, Anurag. Glad to be here. Basically, see, I think businesses like us are thriving today. We have been operating, post-COVID. I think after the initial hiccups, we have been, operational, and we've seen a jump considering we fall under essentials. So other than regular challenges with respect to containment areas and other things, but broadly, I think we are in the happy zone. At least we are operating, and our numbers are, of course, have taken a hit a bit because we were into B2B business also. So considering the restaurant industry has taken a hit, we are also impacted by that. But largely, majority of the business was, home deliveries. So that ways, the business has increased, but not without any challenges. I think from the standpoint of raising capital, because we are also a early age startup and we depend on raising capital, time and again. We see, close to nil activity in the market, and business is most.
And even the funding announcements that happened now were actually done deals in February. They didn't happen during COVID.
Exactly. So our uncertainties are different. I mean, we are slightly different, better than the most, companies out there. But there is still the sword hanging on our head with respect to how are we going to ensure that we get the fundraising in place. Either we become profitable, as Abhijit was saying, that every amount of money which is spent today is going in making money. We're not able to invest in areas where we used to invest earlier. The entire focus is to get the money back and not keep investing and spending in areas which are for long term. So I think the whole vision has become a little more short term, because we are all trying to see that, okay, let's save ourselves for the next 6 months, or let's save ourselves for the next 1 year, and then we will see how the market evolves. So I think that is one side of the business aspect. Now, with respect to the economic package, I think I'm also positive that there is something which is going to come out of that 20 lakh crore which was granted. However, I haven't seen anything where anybody in my network or anywhere has mentioned that there is some relief coming to their companies and they are benefited. So I'm wait and watch scenario, and I'm hoping that the execution takes a little more aggressive approach, and we are able to see such case studies in the market, so that SME sector itself, so the demand to pick up, what Mithun was mentioning, you need to have some case studies, in your view. We have approached some banks and haven't got any response where we can tell you that, okay, there is some momentum in that relief which has been offered.
All right. In fact, let me get in Mr. Atul Todi onto this now. Mr. Todi, physical events are, almost dead. And this is the day and age of, virtual conferences and summits. First of all, give us your take on where the economy is today, the stimulus package, and what, it has meant for your line of work.
So, thank you firstly for having me over. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. Yeah.
Atul, you're very loud.
Okay, you're correct. Probably the event industry is one of the worst hit, because the whole paradigm of having an event is to have a physical gathering, and that is exactly what is sort of been suspended. So yes, it's in a situation where we have to look at it with a positive twist. Just like the whole restaurant industry went through the whole cloud kitchen revolution, and we can say that the industry is bigger now than before. We have to look at this as something that was anyways coming, because you have a whole generation of millennials who are not going to physical events. So the way I see it is, what was going to happen in 5 years, this event is actually pushing us to move quicker to an information age, where a lot would be happening through cloud events. And mind you, events still are extremely important. Your conferences, webinars happening online, while content is the core, the networking and that piece of bringing people together cannot be discounted for, because that is what gives people hope and opens new doors. And that's where we are sitting right now. We have to look beyond what has already happened. We need not as just a stimulus in terms of money, but a positivity. We need a positivity stimulus. And yes, all the factors currently with what's happening on the border, the economic downturn, in not ending the right signal. What we need from the government is a push towards a positive sentiment, which will really get the morale up entrepreneurs, talking all kinds of entrepreneurs, SMEs, MSMEs, your startups. But we got to keep in mind that the economy has fundamentally changed. We have to accept the fact that we have moved from an industrial revolution to an information revolution. The future of the MSME is going to be the people doing live streaming, selling through influencers, through your Instagrams or Facebooks. So yes, I feel really bad. I think all your small shops and small businesses, they are probably the worst hit, and a lot of them might not come back. That's the reality. We have to figure out how they transition and become part of the information mix if India has to move forward faster. So it's extremely essential. And so when we're talking about what we are doing, an event is nothing but an instance of bringing people together. That's an instance of opening new doors, new collaborations, and new opportunities. I mean, often people sum up events as conferences or trade shows. Technically, the moment you bring people together, it's an event. Any kind of sort of gathering is an event. So I think event would play an extremely important role, because it's only when people come together that you have new ideas and opportunities coming open. So I'm pretty positive. I think economies can come back. When we look back after 10 years, I think this 1 year would be a blip. But if we don't make the most of it to actually come out positive, we might go back a decade. So what we have to focus on is how do we come ahead and make the right policies such that you're able to support the new generation of your MSMEs and SMEs, and not just keep going back to the old format.
Right.
Thank you, Atul. You're saying that we need a dose of positivity so that the sentiment goes up and consumer demand comes back. You're also talking about how digital will accelerate the economy, and all businesses will become tech businesses or digitally enabled businesses. Viraj, as an entrepreneur, how do you see the economic package, and what is your response to the economic stimulus?
Hi, Anurag. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Viraj.
All right.
Very audible.
So, first things first, what economic package are we talking about, Anurag? I haven't heard of one. What I essentially...
You live in India, you live in on the moon.
This is hearsay. I only believe in what I see in action. Otherwise, it's all hearsay. So here I am picking up the thread from what some of my friends have already spoken on your show.
But Viraj, I want to halt you for a sec. I want to tell you that the government is serious about front-loading execution, and it is doing it. In the last 2 weeks, refunds of income tax have come back. The queries for empanelment are happening. So the government is serious about execution.
I'm very pro government. I'm not saying this in the context of what the government should be doing or not doing. I'm talking more in the context of what we as entrepreneurs should be doing. And I think that we as entrepreneurs right now should not be waiting for packages. We should be going out there collaborating, because nobody stops us from doing that. We cannot grip at the opportunities that we can make for ourselves. Let's at least make those. Which means that I've got an event guy here on your show. I've got a media guy here on your show. I've got a digital marketing guy here on your show. I'd like to propose collaborations. We need to produce content. So I think the only relief and package that we as entrepreneurs, at least me as an MSME, can look forward to and can actually make happen for myself, is that we need to go out there and practice open innovation and open collaboration. And that's what is going to get us out. I completely, Avi a while ago said that each man for his own. I completely agree. I think what Avi means by that is that we cannot rely on the government to help us here. Each man for his own, and each friend and each collaboration for their own. We need to collaborate and make things happen. So that's my big one at the moment. How can we revive? What does the new normal have in store for us? I'm saying that COVID has just come and speeded up what was always supposed to happen. What's happening was always supposed to happen. It's just speeded up the process. So let's get with the plan. And the plan is the world is about small businesses. The world is about gig economies. The world is about collaboration. So let's start doing it.
Okay, all right.
So my favorite term, Vineet, these days is the 3C economy: collaborative, caring, and contactless. Mr. Chaudhary, we'd like to get your comments on the stimulus package, and where do you see the economy going from here?
Okay, so about the stimulus package, I will basically want to say this. We also are very skeptical about this because I've been contacting a lot of banks regarding what the government has actually said that they will basically help MSME, and we basically come under the MSME, but we haven't heard from any bank. They are very skeptical in terms of releasing any loans. I heard that SBI has released a lot of new loans in this lockdown period, but they are only limited to their own current clients and not to the new customers. And getting any kind of funding from the bank these days is not easy as it sounds. Private banks are not at all interested in helping any MSME. Whatever the finance minister is saying, that is not practical on the ground. I was recently spoken and raised my issue in the CII events as well regarding the same, that what government is saying and what is coming practical is not happening, right? But so as entrepreneurs, we are not dependent upon government. So we are.
So, Mr. Chaudhary, let me interject. So, practically, what you're saying is that this stimulus package of 20 lakh crores was specifically, predominantly meant for MSMEs, and they are the ones who are not being able to avail any benefits of it. Is that what you're saying?
As of now. As of now,
I'm waiting from the banks. I have raised my issues to multiple forums, to multiple events, something like this, that it sounds very lucrative. We were very happy to hear, and what the companies in the US and in Europe are getting help from the government, and we were very happy. I hope in few weeks that we will see this in action, but as of now, not. Banks do not have any guidelines. It is only there said in the papers or the news. They also heard from the same, but actually nothing has been confirmed. So they are very skeptical in terms of how this thing will work, how the MSME will get help. But they have actually, if they were sanctioning a loan of maybe 1 crore to any MSME, now they have reduced it to maybe 50 lakhs.
Okay.
So they are very skeptical in terms of giving those kind of packages.
Okay, Viraj has his finger up. Let's get in what he has to say. Then we'll dip into a short break.
Yeah.
Viraj, go ahead.
Just a very quick one. The countries where the government has always done something for the MSMEs, there where this debate asks, what do you expect from a package? That debate isn't realistic. In a country where the government has never done anything for the MSMEs, and I, by the way, don't blame the government. They didn't ask us to start businesses. They didn't support us to start businesses. Why are we expecting them to do anything for us right now? They have their hands full. We are 1 billion plus people in this country. I say that please give us our customers back, which means that please take care of this pandemic. The only thing we should be expecting from the government right now is to provide hospital beds. If they do that successfully, believe you me, we'll all be all right. So let's not look for economic packages. I'm in fact saying, please take this economic package and put some more beds in hospitals and actually make them available to the people.
Okay, let's get Kuldeep to respond, and then we'll. Okay, let Kuldeep respond to that. Let Kuldeep respond to that. Then we'll go into a break.
I totally agree with Viraj that this government has not encouraged us to become entrepreneurs. I totally agree whatever he says, that we do not need any packages. We were very happy what we were doing before the packages was given. I think because of digital, I'm into the business of digital. I make products in artificial intelligence. I actually saw a boom recently, especially from the small retailers who have never thought that the digital will be something they want to opt for. So I do not think that we require this. Maybe some people will, but majority of those guys, they will find a way, because this is also a time of a new opportunity as well.
Mithun Sundar, let me come to you now. We have spoken of the problems. We have spoken of the stimulus package, but there are a couple of things which really need the attention of the only people who can solve it, and that is the government, whether we like it or not. One is how to create demand, and the other is to infuse liquidity. How is that going to happen? Obviously, for both of these things to prosper and proliferate, you need that one ingredient, which is sentiment, and it's not there at this point in time.
Yeah, I think my honest opinion is that you put reality before sentiment. I mean, I think if the actions taken and the work sort of is done in the right manner, sentiment will shift automatically. Right? There were two questions you asked over there. One is to create or sort of generate demand. The second was to put liquidity. I think ensuring liquidity for highly vulnerable industries is something which we should expect our formal financial sector plus sort of, the government to sort of help the best that they can. And I'm being very specific about where I believe this is required. This is required with industries and companies and entrepreneurs where they are in a really, vulnerable state. Not, a tech entrepreneur who sort of built up a tech startup in Bangalore. That is not where actually the help is needed. A small tailor shop that's opened up, in Surat in the last 1 year, whose demand is now totally gone. He still has 3 tailor boys that he sort of got to pay salary to. For those people, ensuring some level of liquidity and some level of backstop support during a period where demand doesn't exist, I think we should look for, both the government and the financial sector to be able to step in and do that. Now, how would we do it? Some efforts have been put in place, but not all of them. There's a lot of friction to get the money there. I think now, once we do that, I agree with what Viraj had said earlier. The second largest priority is for, just getting the country healthy again. When I say healthy, I'm actually referring to medical health. Right? Do whatever we need to do for the next 2 months, 3 months. Ensure that you tide out the pandemic with some level of liquidity for people who are really vulnerable. It's small traders, small people, folks who have lower salaries, people who are suddenly sort of, struggling without money, migrant labor. Figure out how to get money in their hands so they can tide the 3 months through. Use the 3 months to make the medical, or 3, 4, whatever that is, to medically get us back to, on our feet. You do these two, demand will come back automatically. Artificially generated demand is just, there is this whole discussion about, revenge buying and whether there will be a spike. I suspect there will be a spike, but it's going to be a very short spike and it won't last long. For people like you and I and the folks who are sitting on this panel, we shouldn't be looking for, stimulus or help from the government. What we should be looking for is a way to sort of manage your business through this difficult time and ensure your costs are under control and sort of, you're adapting your offering for a new reality as best as you can. And then when demand comes back, to be able to, you'll have to take more modest growth ambitions in some contexts. But once it's done, we should be back on track. There are big opportunities. In the United States, there was a company called Peloton. I don't know how many of you are avid exercisers or cyclers, but it was close to shutting down. They had a very expensive product. Now, there's a 3-month wait list for their product to be sold. There are opportunities that are getting created in a situation of this sort when people are exercising at home. So it cuts both sides, is how I see it.
Okay.
Abhijit, I want to ask you a real question. A travel business that's 10 people, travel services, travel is 0 or close to 0. With domestic flights, maybe it's 5%, 2%, 1%. What should the small digital, OTA do?
See, right now it's the worst ever. I mean, it's shut down, so they have almost nothing to do except control the actual customer. So when I speak to travel agents or I speak to hoteliers, I say you need to learn how Facebook ads work, how Google ads work. You need to understand how to get the eventual customer, number one. And then go to very simple and free websites like the Google Keyword Planner, Google Trends, answer the public, and see, this is post when things open up, you see if there's demand. I was speaking to a travel agent, I said, if you go online to these sites and you see after things open up and you're traveling across the world and all of that, you see if there's a demand in Canada for a product to be sold for Australian outback tour safaris. Sell that. You become a facilitator. You cannot anymore say that I was an Indian tour operator selling Agra and that my business is gone. You go onto the internet.
Now you're global.
Wherever there's demand, you need to fill it up. That's what I feel everybody should do. But because of the lack of know-how, some of our other panelists said that, digital, I think Kuldeep said that, the people are coming on and saying that we want the digital products. People are coming and saying, I need to learn this. And we've always said, you have a healthy debate with your chartered accountant, with your lawyer, but you've never had a healthy debate on digital because you've never thought that would be anything more than 5% of your business. Now people are taking it seriously. Nothing can be done right now, unfortunately. Only thing with people right now in learning mode, as soon as the economy opens, they'll find opportunities. But having said that, I wanted to make one more point to the earlier conversation. I don't understand how the government stimulus package works very well. I mean, I'm not the best person to even comment or understand that. I'm learning a lot from all the other panelists. But I do understand one thing very well, that I don't think as a citizen of any country, I'm allowed to flourish when somebody in the same household is not doing well. If I have a chauffeur, if I have somebody in my household, I think it's time that everybody should take care of. When we say the government should feed everybody and the government should take care of this, we must understand that we are not a rich country, we never were. every household should have a responsibility to cook meals for their people in the neighborhood and take care of the basti right next door. It should become mandatory from the government. We'll be called draconian or all of that if we have these kind of measures. But I think automatically as a society, every entrepreneur who's doing decently well should not only say कि मेरे घर का दाल रोटी चल रहा है. What about people in your neighborhood? I mean, there should be. I feel there should be cars or vans coming up in the evening and saying one meal per household should be cooked for other people who cannot afford it. We will be able to bring out the country much faster than depending on the government alone to take care of the entire system, is what I've always felt. Just wanted to add that in.
Viraj, you just talked about reskilling, getting digital skill. Education and, edutech has flowered, blossomed in the last 70 days. Tell us how digital transformation and learning new skills for the new abnormal can really help the economy leap forward.
So this is the way I see it, Anurag, and think about it. The small, you were asking Avi about the small travel operator. I'm saying, why just a small travel operator? The small anything today needs to, number one, in terms of skilling, understand that you cannot rely in the coming new normal. We are in the new abnormal, you're right, but in the coming new normal, we cannot rely on one profession alone. We all need duality. The billionaires of the world, the books that have been written, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all of them for years have been talking about the fact that you cannot rely on one source of income. Not much has changed. Only thing is that even the small guys woken up to that reality today. You need to have multiple skills today. We all need new skills. You and I need new skills too. We are learning on the fly how to use Instagram, Zoom, and all of that. So what makes anybody think that you can do without new skills? The good thing about digital, the world that Avi comes from, and he's been propagating that for many, many years. The good thing about digital is that now that is easily available to all of us. There are universities like Harvard that have doled out their courses free out there. A lot of people think it's not of value though. I think all of us first need to wake up to the reality, big, small, medium, large, whoever we are. We all need to wake up to the reality that the new world will require new skills and nobody can escape it. All of us will need it. Good news is available. Good news is it can be done on the fly.
Yeah.
And it is being done.
So what you're saying, Viraj, and let me in fact extend this question on to Dipanshu as well. Dipanshu, in problem lies an opportunity as well. And you think that is the window, that is the thought which is going to in fact uplift us from this nuisance, this problematic time that we all are facing?
I think if you look at India inherently has been a country of entrepreneurs and small small time guys running shops and everything. What I'm very curious to look at is that how the consumption evolves over a period of time, because consumption will largely play out the the business new style of business, how people are consuming new things, like for example edutech is there and other services are there. So I think these are the opportunities. These are the areas where everybody needs to be constantly off a lookout. That okay, what exactly is happening in my industry? Whether on a global level or whether on a local level. So I think we as Indians have all what it takes to be more adaptive in a newer situation. We have seen independence. We have seen so much struggle in our own cultures. I think we have to learn from that. And eventually, if we all come together, there is enough, content in everybody to be able to do a turnaround. The only thing is that how positive we are. There has to be that positivity from the government side. I think what I'm looking for, whether it is in the form of some liquidity or whether it is in the form of some reforms, whether you look at FDI, something of that sort. There has to be that movement. It could be Make in India, where we are shifting the basis from China to India. It could be anything. But largely there has to be that larger momentum which needs to happen so that everybody can grab to the newer practices. Right now, I think we are all trying to digest and process in terms of what exactly is happening. So it's a period of pause, and that gives us more opportunity to introspect that what is happening where and how do we immediately change gears and get on with it. I think that's about it, nothing else.
Atul and Kuldeep, you heard everyone speak on the panel. Atul, you said it in a different way. Viraj said it in a different way. Mithun said it. But entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs because they're creative. They inherently create opportunities for themselves. They see opportunities where others don't see. So why do entrepreneurs need government help so much? I know, of course, infrastructure is important, safe environment is important, beds of testing is important as of now. But tell us, shouldn't the entrepreneurs kind of reinventing themselves to be able to create new opportunities and new business models and help contribute to economy and themselves?
So Anurag, I completely agree with what you're saying. I don't think the whole point of being an entrepreneur is that you have to reinvent. And there has never been a better time or a more important time than to reinvent now. For the government, let them sort of, I would rather have them focus on the bigger view and what's happening on the global context. We are not what we are missing out here is, while we are looking at a short-term view of what's going on, we are forgetting that there is a change in the whole global scenario. There is a US, which is a superpower, which might be going down. We're not talking about it, but this is going to matter a lot. There is a China that is rising, and it's going to have a significant impact on everything that we do in the coming years. So what really pisses me off or teases me off is people saying, oh, I'm on Instagram, 2020, I can't wait to get over, waiting for 21. 21 is going to be new reality. It is not going to go back to normal. We need to realize that. We need to prepare for it. What the government needs to, it is a fact that the government needs to spend money, because there is no way that the lower middle class, the worker, the migrants, they cannot create a company right now. Government needs to go out and spend on construction. That's a great way, because that builds the economy. The moment you start building, say that if you're going to double down on heights, you need to spend. It's not like the government spends today. It is at least sending the message that, okay, we're going to spend 10,000 crore or 1 lakh crore on just building roads all over. What it does is it sends a message to the economy that, okay, there are new jobs being created. That indirectly motivates the entrepreneurs. We're like, okay, fine, great. Government is doing things.
Spending will anyway trickle down. A company will do it, and it will subcontract it to a smaller company, and the labor will benefit. The daily labor will benefit. So it has a trickle down impact on the economy.
In the spend, the government has to spend, but it has to strategically spend such that it also sends a positive message. To keep sending the negative message, okay, we are giving this away, or it almost kills the entrepreneurial spirit, because it's not giving me a positive sense that, okay, India is rising, we're going to fight this out, we're going to actually come back out on the other side. It's almost making you feel bad for where you are. You feel like, okay, no, things are going to get even worse. So even before coronavirus happened, this was already the sentiment. People were like, we will just wait and watch. We don't want to invest. We don't want to take any risk.
Right.
So if you can't, the entrepreneurs will manage. The middle class will manage. They will invent. We will, a lot of the panelists talked about learning and digital learning. It is happening, and we are a very young nation. That's the only advantage we have.
Right. Kuldeep. All right. Coming to Kuldeep now. Kuldeep, you said that the stimulus package and going to the banks for MSMEs is not something which is viable and tenable. What do you think was the alternative the government could have pursued in this case?
Okay, so I think most of the businesses have taken some loans earlier, so delaying EMIs were offered to the companies and other things like this. But there has been, I've been seeing a lot of rise in the interest rates, and there has not been, like for say GST packages, there's a lot of interest on GST that should have been waived off by the government, or the interest should have been waived off. So the problem is not the business. The problem is, I think, is the current financial situations. Like, there's no liquidity in the market, and I think a lot of the guys will agree that they might have seen a different kind of a new business opportunity. But the problem arises when we want the liquidity to start that new business. Like, I was doing digital in terms of providing my system to a lot of companies. But now in this pandemic, we have offered our system to doctors. So I have a lot of clients in terms of doctors who are very happy that now they can reach their customers reach their clients without calling them to their clinics, so they can be safe as well. But what we really want from the government, that they should be waiving off the interest rates. That's been really a problem after, like, what will happen after August? Like these like the EMI delays will be over, and then there a lot of interest piled up on the MSMEs and these small business enterprises. That will be a really big problem.
From the advertising brand, when you talk to your clients, what's the sentiment you get? Are they on a pause? Are they waiting and watching? Even in sectors that are open, are they conservative in their outlook, or they're gung-ho about the economy and the demand in the near short term?
So Anurag, they are very skeptical. They are holding up their marketing, and I'm sure you also know this. Even I read a post by Coke, which they said in the month of March, when the US was hit by this pandemic, that they have stopped all their marketing activities to the, I don't know till when. And they have been followed by a lot of global companies. They have cut down big time on their spendings in terms of marketing. But again, I see a lot of opportunities as well. Right, the sentiments are not really good in terms of, a lot of businesses will change after this pandemic, like office spaces. I've been talking to my team, and I feel like they don't need to come to office anymore. The culture has to change. The way we used to work has to change. Especially like shared office spaces. I don't know what would be their future. So a lot of companies like Google and Facebook has already announced that they will never ever going to call.
Even TCS announced 50% and made 75%. Coming back, what me and Vineet would like from each one of you is one or two suggestions that can get the demand back, that can get the sentiment back, and hence get the economy back, which benefits the country and each of the entrepreneurs that the country is made of. So I can start with Avijit, then go around the house. Avijit, one or two things that can be done to get the demand back.
See, firstly, I 100%, I think Viraj hit the nail on the head when he said, let's get everybody back to feeling fearless. If I'm not worried about what's happening outside, I'm going to go to work tomorrow morning, so is my team, and we'll get it back. So let the government do that. I 100% appreciate what Viraj said over there. What I have seen, Anurag, we did webinars. We did about 65 webinars in the last 65 days, a webinar every day. And we had on an average 500 to 1500 people attending every single day. One of the things that I learned from there was small entrepreneurs from different parts of, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns in India coming up and saying, I saw on Google of the new Facebook shop or whatever, I've already set up a new shop there. I saw demand for herbal products or immunity products. So I bought from somewhere and I sold somewhere where there was demand. And I'm afloat. These are people who are new business people who are getting into the field. So hence I see them being more nimble. Whereas many of us are sitting and saying, hey, what's going to happen to my existing business? And I'm trying to figure out how I can save my existing business. Whereas many new kids who started one demand and servicing a demand. So if the demand is moved from television, which I was selling, and now gone to immunity boosters, let me set up a landing page on Google, set up a Facebook shop and start selling that. And for the next 1 month, that is my shop. And I can do it in Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, vernacular, whatever. You can set up a Facebook shop or a Google shop or anything online or a business on Shopify within hours and start selling something which is in demand for the next 1 week. और एक हफ्ते के बाद आपकी दुकान कुछ और product बेच रही होगी. With that mindset, we'll be able to come back.
You have to become digital first. You have to look at demand for products and services in this new normal. Mithun, you're a fintech company, and for that matter, every business has to become a tech business. Edu has to become edu tech. Financial services have to fintech. Media has to become media tech. You take any business, every business is now a tech and a digital first business. But tell us, what can be done to get the demand back? How to get the offtake? Even if at the macro level, some intervention needs to be done beyond what has been done by the government, by the RBI. What could those be?
Yeah, I think there are two things that you could probably do, right? Number one, I think there are fundamental building building the nation kind of employment that can, somebody spoke about construction as one of those, right? Roads, railways, construction, building the nation kind of investments. You can do them at any point in time. And whenever you do it, it'll amortize over the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. This is probably the time to do it, because the person who can do it is the one who's printing the money, right? And it is work that has to get done. We have pumping infrastructure in a lot of cities and towns. Do it, whether it's on energy, whether it's on fuel, whether it's on construction. Do it now, put the investment in. It'll pay out over the next 10 years anyway, because those returns come out over 10 years. And you've generated employment, and there is a positive buzz around the place as well. The second thing, I don't think it's about the government doing it. Everyone will need to introspect. There's going to be a flight to quality, right? It is true that there will be winners and losers coming out of this. This flight to quality will mean, you said it is tech. My own opinion is the need to be tech forward has been there for a long time. Prior to this, I used to work at PepsiCo. And Pepsi used to every year increase its percentage share of money that was going into digital from an advertising perspective. It used to double it every year. And it was still, in my opinion, not fast enough, right? This was it started from like 2%, 4, 8, and it was a continuous increase of that sort. And it's still not fast enough. I then worked in an e-commerce company where 90% of the share of spend, again, it's just advertising, was all digital, right? And 90 versus 20. This is all companies, we need to introspect and say, in this new context, if I'm going to have to generate demand, I will have to both reinvent my business model, and my, within quotes, quality. And somebody spoke about somebody sort of buying something and selling out herbal products. This is real, innovative thinking in the business that I am in. Keeping costs low, finding 5 other things to sell. Today I'm not giving out loans in the market because it's not a great time to be giving out loans. What do you underwrite based on? But I can sell insurance to customers, and customers are looking for insurance. I can sell health products to customers, and customers are looking for that. I can do different kinds of loans versus, something which is much more timeless, like gold or, property or something else, which I never used to do in the past. I could do that now, and I'm starting to do those. And I think a few companies are going to try and do that to both service the latent demand and hence sort of create the flywheel of increased demands. Those would be 2 things I would do.
Okay.
Manchanda?
Yeah, I think I agree with Mithun and Navi. Diversification, where you are able to handle multiple projects and go back to basics by hustling yourself on a day-to-day basis, rather than getting stuck with older ways of doing the project. So I think you'll have to multitask. No doubt about that. One person who was thriving with one set of product or a service have to do at least 4 to 5. But I think I'm also a little concerned with respect to that the consumption largely. That the demand part of it, other than the essentials. When you talk about medicines or healthcare or education, I think these are very few of the sectors which are there out there for grabs. But I think other sectors, how will they come up is something which I'm still trying my head to understand, that how will that innovate, where technology and people will be able to do that. I think that's one. I think that's about it.
Atul, how do you create demand?
So, I agree with what the other panelists have said. They're all very micro perspective. I'm just first take changing tone. I'll give a macro view. I really believe, yes, you have to focus on your construction and all industries, but macro level, your communication, right? Because I think in the initial, in order to motivate your large scale entrepreneurs, you have to stop have external, not an enemy, but competition. Because that is what drives people to come together. In case comes as a nation, we have to come of it. We got to be on and be like, where is India going? So get communication right, encourage people, create a external thing that India is. China is brilliant,
Okay, there seems to be a problem with Atul's audio. All right. There seems to be a problem with Atul's audio. We'll go to Kuldeep now. Kuldeep?
Yes.
How to get the demand back?
Yeah, how to get the demand back?
That's the only question in everyone's mind.
So I think there would be a new way of how the businesses would be done, and I think everybody has spoken about digital and everything, and I'm basically the person who has seen it evolving in India and how the demand is increasing in the current scenario across the globe. People, so what happens in a jungle when till the time the old tree falls, the new trees never get a chance to go up. So we will see new business houses in the current scenario who will come out of this pandemic as the new business houses in India. There would be new opportunities creating. And I think we have to learn the new way of doing businesses. The faster people learn, the better they're going to survive. If they are slow to this new change, they are not going to survive in this situation for long. Digital is one of the way to go, and also there are multiple new business models we have to look into, especially the 3C model you have just suggested in the starting.
Okay, Viraj.
You know, Vinny,
yeah.
Yesterday I was watching a show just after our show, which was on luxury and hospitality. And I want to ask to Atul. Atul is also a very good painter. Are people buying paintings these days? I kind of know the answer, but I'm still asking you. And so what does a painter do? What does an artist do? What does a performer do? Because the digital money may not be enough. So I think Atul has frozen.
Anurag, may I answer this?
Go ahead, Kuldeep, go ahead.
So I have seen it. So if you are into arts and if you're an art lover, you will definitely see starting soon the ads from the art world. So there are websites who are selling, who are encouraging the painters. They make a master copy and then they sell the cheaper versions from they are copyright protected. They are digital prints.
Okay.
And everybody can enjoy that art.
We're short on time, guys. We're short on time, guys. Okay.
In this, people are looking at essential, saving cash.
All right, Anurag, we are short on time, so we'll have to wrap it up. Viraj, how do we get the demand back?
Okay, two quick things. One, picking up from what Anurag was just talking about, his question, demand back. If you're a performer, get online, start teaching performance. If you're an artist, get online, start teaching painting. And no, people are not just spending on essentials. People are spending on crap right now. People are buying things they don't need right now. Everybody's house is full of gourmet food, which they think has made them super chefs overnight. People are spending money. We need to change the narrative. That's what we need to do, number one. We all need to stop saying, oh, economy is bad, what do we do? We need to start saying there's new opportunity. What are you doing to reskill yourself and start taking care of that opportunity?
Okay, all right.
We need to change the narrative.
All right, we need to change the narrative, and unfortunately we have run out of time, but nevertheless, it was a great debate, a great chat, a very articulate one. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this really indulging show. Thank you for watching, folks.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.